I actually wrote on the wall yesterday, I will make 100 million. And it sounds crazy and delusional, but it is. You have to be delusional. I ended up selling my first radio on Facebook Marketplace. And then that's when I realized the opportunity to work for myself.
Welcome to the Build to Last podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Coe. I'm joined today by Kirk McKinney, founder of Junk Teens, a youth-led junk removal business that he started at age 15. He's been featured in the Boston Globe, CBS News, and Entrepreneur Magazine. Today, we talk about his long-term vision for Junk Teens, building in public, and how a random trip to the dump led to him starting a business that just made over $1.3 million in revenue last year. Awesome. So thanks so much for doing this, Kirk. Really excited to hear about your story and why it is you started this business, what it is you do. Thanks for joining me, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get to know you and also answer any questions you have about Junk Teens or anything else that I do.
For sure. I guess my first question is, and it's the big one. What made you want to start a business, and why specifically, of all businesses to start, why junk removal?
Well, to be honest, it was an accident and I didn't even know I wanted to start it, but it just kind of happened. So let me explain. I was kind of like exploring one day with my bike. I was on a bike ride and I discovered the dump, and I was with one of my friends. So at the dump, we found like this speaker that worked, and I couldn't believe that someone threw away this like working speaker. So I took it home and then I tested it. It worked. And then after that, I just kept going back to the dump on my bicycle because I was 15 at the time, didn't have a license or anything. And I just collected a bunch of speakers. And so my whole bedroom was like full of them, like a little hoarder's house. It was like my bedroom. And then my mom said that I had to throw it all away. And I told her, I was like, I just spent so much time trying to get all this. Like, I don't want to throw it away. She's like, well, you got to figure something out. So I ended up selling my first radio on Facebook Marketplace for $50. And then that's when I realized the opportunity to work for myself. So it kind of happened on accident because we were exploring. And I was also passionate about speakers. So I was collecting them for fun, for no reason to sell them or anything, just for fun. And then my mom said I had to throw them away. So it basically became an opportunity by accident, where I was actually working at the grocery store at this time, making $12 an hour. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, didn't really know that I wanted to start my own business. I'd always tried in the past, always had the idea, but it was like never really worked out or never really went anywhere. So that's kind of how it all started.
Okay, so it's absolute accident. I'm curious, what was the story in going from that accident to selling that first speaker to eventually, I saw recently in an article you're on track to doing $1.2 million in revenue last year. Congratulations, by the way. What did that
Thank
story
you.
look like? How did you go from, just accidentally selling the speaker to, I guess, recruiting people, building a business around that, and going from, going to the dumpster to collecting junk from people's houses?
Yeah, let me get into it. So basically I started selling everything that was in my room, and from there I was like, wait, this is an opportunity. So I kept collecting speakers and selling them, quit my job at the grocery store, and then from there I realized, like, wait, I'm selling stuff. What else can I sell? So I started selling TVs, bicycles, lifting weights, anything I could get my hands on. And then COVID hit, and my parents are pretty strict, so they didn't let me go out of the house for like maybe 4 months. So during this time, I had this grind set. I was trying to get things going, and they're like, you can't. And I didn't want to stop like trying to work for myself. So then I started like this other little online business, like trying e-com, all the online stuff, and it's just not really fit for me and how my mind works and operates. So it didn't really go anywhere. But then I was able to get back into the selling when COVID was a little bit past. And because of that, because of COVID, the demand for certain items were crazy, like lifting weights, for example. I made like 20 grand with my brother selling lifting weights within like a month or two. and we would just go knock on people's doors, ask if they had any old lifting weights. They give it to us. We would sell them. That's like a random little part of the journey. But then from there, we kept selling stuff until it got to the point where we realized that removing junk was a way better opportunity than selling it. And the way we realized this is the guys at the dump actually had us work for them. We would go in and work with them, and they would show us like how to do the job. And it basically got to the point where we were doing the entire job for them, and they were paying us $50 an hour. And they were kind of stupid for paying us that much because like we're just a couple kids. We would have thought $30 an hour was the best thing ever. But they paid us 50, and then 50 went to like 60. And I was like, look, if they have room to make profit on top of this, like we're doing the whole job for them. Like, why can't we do this too? So we went out, got ourselves a pickup truck, and started doing it on our own. And they were supporters of this. They helped us a little bit. Like they showed us the ropes. They showed us how to run the business, how to get clients a little bit in the beginning. And then from there, this first year, my brother and I basically did anything we could with our pickup truck to make money. And junk removal was the first thing we learned. And we did a little bit of landscaping. We did moving jobs, literally like any side hustle we could with our pickup truck to make money. And after a whole year of doing that with our pickup truck, we ended up making 120K in sales. And then we took all that money and reinvested into our first dump truck. So we basically didn't really take anything home the first year. We just put it all back in, got ourselves a dump truck, upgraded our pickup truck once we made some more money from there. And then the second year, we had more volume. So we needed to hire people to help us. And at this point, that's when we started to hire employees. And when we started paying for marketing, very, very little though. We really didn't pay for much marketing in our second year. It was still organic mostly, but really starting to turn it into a business more than a side hustle. And that's when we stuck to junk removal as our niche, because we knew we have to pick one thing, be the best at it. Junk removal was the most competitive, but the most fun. It's what we wanted to do. And even though it's hard, we're going to pick the one that we think has the most upside. Because I could see myself, like, I could see other kids helping us removing junk, but I couldn't see a bunch of other kids raking leaves all day because no one wants to do that. But people love breaking stuff. They love picking stuff up, finding cool stuff. Like that's why we stuck to junk removal. And then I was like, why are people hiring us? It's because we're teenagers and we do junk removal. So boom, I just connected the two junk teens. And that was the second year. We ended up the second year after going crazy with like 430K in sales. That was just 2 years after my brother and I started collecting trash. And then third year, I can keep going down the years, but was there anything else you wanted to say before I could get into it more?
No, I guess though the thing I'm most curious about is, and I've read an article that I think it was it was on the Babson website. They interviewed you, and one of the things that struck me was that there's things that are more difficult to clear, and things that are much easier to clear, and I guess you charge based on that. But what I was thinking was, where did you get the skills to basically take apart anything that someone has, and clear it for them? Because I imagine, and this was the example you gave, the treadmill's hard. If you have, these huge tables, or there's stuff that's more easy. How did you gain the skills to do this type of work?
I would say that's one of the best parts about entrepreneurship is like nobody has a clue what the hell they're doing at any time, especially when they first start. Like, how do you think the best person in the world at whatever it is became the best? They obviously had to start somewhere and figure stuff out. And that's exactly what we did. We just went into it with a dream and a goal in mind and worked hard every day and had to figure things out as we went. So it might have been watching YouTube videos or being stuck on a job for 2 hours, figuring out like how to use the wrench at this particular angle to unscrew a treadmill, like all these weird little things you figure out through experience and time. And that's what we had to do. And like a lot of it, we didn't really know what to do, but we were also raised in a family where our parents owned their own business. So we were able to learn certain things from them growing up and observing what they do. But I would say like that was a lot of what gave us some of our drive, but like it wasn't our parents that led us to do this. It was us. And everyone can be inspired by different people, and our parents are a huge inspiration and helped teach us certain things. But like, for example, how to remove junk, it's a pretty straightforward thing. It's like, all right, someone needs these items gone. Now it's my responsibility to figure out how to get them out. And then from there, it's like for tricky items, we'll have to research, maybe look at the thing for 20 minutes and come up with a strategy. If it doesn't work, try something else and just keep going.
Awesome. So you started the business. It's you and your brother. You're learning the ropes. I guess you worked under those other guys initially. I'm curious, how did you start there and expand it? How did junk teens, you're hiring teens to do some work. Like how did you train these people? What was that whole process like?
Yeah, I think this might make more sense to get into year 3, because this is where it really started to turn into like the business. I'd say first year was all side hustles, second year was transition into the business, and third year is when things started to become way more legit. And basically the third year we bought another dump truck, and that's when I started to post on social media. It was between second and third year, but mostly start of the third year. Social media is what really transitioned our business into a brand and into like a company, because we began to attract like winners like us that could see the image that we're putting out there and want to be a part of that. And that's when we started to lead others that were in it for the long run. Like I'd say the first year or two, no one really knew what the long-term goal was. We're all just kind of working hard, making money. Third year is when we really know like where we're starting to head. It's like we want to keep doing this. We want to build something big. From the third year, that's when we started to put a budget aside for marketing. We invested into Facebook and Google ads, spending about like minimum $200 a week. Towards the end of the year, it was about like $100 to $200 a day, actually, between all of our ads. And then we did that so we could have a consistent job flow for the guys too. Because once you have people where they're like taking gap years or they're really dedicated, like that's when we need to be able to try to provide as much work as we can. But that pressure also is one of the things that helped us grow. So like figuring out how can we get enough business to do this full time all the time, even when it's slow, find ways to make it busy. And yeah, so then with all that, on the end of our third year with two dump trucks and the pickup truck, we did basically like 930K in sales. And then this is our fourth year, just ended off, rinse and repeat, same stuff. But what we did was we really made sure to keep A players on the team only. We don't have any patience for people that want to half-ass things, or like maybe someone's around all the time, but just because someone's always available and willing to show up doesn't mean that they're going to do things right. And it's like all around A player talent, people who want to be the best, who strive to be the best, and just want to do things right are the people that we want to keep around. And we did that this year, and that led us to about 1.3 this year. I know it said on the article we're on track to 1.2. I think it was between 1.2 and 3 is what we ended up ending the year off with. And it was very much like kind of repeating what we did last year, but we didn't really have a goal of where we wanted to be in terms of the numbers this year. But I mean last year, but next year, the goal is 2 million in revenue with Junk Teens. And we've made so many changes in the last like 4 months. I think we've made more changes in our business in the last 3 to 4 months than we have since we started it. Since we started it, we worked hard, had more people join. But in terms of changing things and innovating and doing stuff that's hard to try to move things forward in a new way that's better, haven't really done as much since the beginning as we have recently. And that's really exciting. But did that answer your question of where we're at and why? Or do you want me to go further into that in any specific way?
No. That made tons of sense. And you talked about your team. You talked about how you really want to hire A players. What I am curious about, well, I have two questions about that. Number one, how's your team structured? You know, how did you like? I mean, I guess you talked a bit about how you built out the team when you got the other truck, but more so, what's it like managing so many people at a young age? Was that more challenging? If you're managing someone older, like I'm sure you have employees that are older than yourself, is there an ego issue at times? That's something I'm very curious about, and I'd love to hear more.
Honestly, that's one of the best things about what we do is like we never have ran into those types of issues. And if there are people like that, they're out of here in 2 seconds. So we don't have any patience for people that are like that. Everyone around here is genuine and like just really wants to show up, work hard, and get rewarded for what they put in. And that's what we do. But it's really nice being able to work with a bunch of guys that are the same age or younger, sometimes a year or two older than me, because we all learn from each other. And I can look back and teach other people the things that I learned like in the same kind of time frame. It's much easier to teach someone that's 2 years behind you than it is to teach someone that's 10 years behind you. And like I think that's one of the great things about junk teens is like we're all kind of the same age working towards the same goals. And like I think where the older people come is on the back end, like for the accounting, marketing, like some of the stuff that you would never see in the front is where we have some adults helping us. Even our office staff right now that's kind of handling the phone calls, like we have people that are like 26 to 28 years old taking the calls, and like their customers are okay with that. It's more about like that real life in person experience is where the value and the magic behind junk teens is, like having the younger kids get this crazy opportunity to make like $20 an hour starting up to like 30 is our top paying guys. Um, like while you're in high school, like that's unheard of. And like that's kind of the breeding ground that we want to create for hardworking people that like just want to come by and do something fun, work with your friends. A lot of friend groups come together and work with us, but like if your friend's not gonna pull his weight, we're not discriminate. We're only gonna have the top people in. So if your friend's offended that he's not good enough, get him out of here. He's not coming back. So like I don't know, that's kind of the culture that we create around here.
Awesome, awesome. No, I think that's amazing. I want to ask more about the social media side of your business because you've you have a TikTok account. You mentioned that you started off on Facebook Marketplace, I guess studying some of that. You run ads on Facebook Marketplace. I saw even that you have a school community where you teach people what you learn. Where do you see that fit into the business, and have you seen a lot of tangible growth from investing in your social media side?
Yeah, so the social media honestly started as something for fun. I was just posting stuff. I've always loved social media ever since I was a kid. Like during COVID, I grinded on TikTok and got like 300K followers on my personal account just for fun with no goal. And it went nowhere because like just because you have a lot of followers at the end of the day doesn't mean anything. Like a lot of the times it roots in the niche, but also like creating something that people want to follow. Like people will follow because you tell them to, but like why are they following you? Sometimes they don't even know. So back to like the main point, like I just started posting for fun. And then I realized like our first like couple out of the first 3 videos on TikTok, I think one of them went viral, got like 8 million views or something like that. And I realized like, wait, I used to do this for myself. Why don't I just take the viral kind of like mindset and put it into junk teens and see what happens? Where like before we had no social media goals or anything like that for the first 2 years with junk teens. And then I just started posting and it started leading to like weird opportunities. Like within the first month of us posting, we got sponsored by Dave's Hot Chicken. And the way that happened, yeah, really random. But the way it happened was like, I basically was at Dave's. I loved their food. So I like found the manager. I told him to like reach out to corporate, and I had to go back like 5 different times. The thing that worked was I wrote them a Google review, and I asked them for the opportunity through the Google review. And then like I got a DM one day from like someone on the team from Dave's, and then we basically got sponsored. But I didn't really like the deal, so we didn't really run with it after that. But um that's an example of random things that could come from it. Uh, but then I just kept posting because it became a part of the business. It's what I liked. And then it started continuing to lead to like weird opportunities. But there's one purpose that I always have with the content that I post, and it's that I want to show people that the brand is fun. What we do is fun. It's not always just about working hard. It's about having fun at the same time. And I want people to see that this is a job that you want to show up to. And that's the purpose. That's the main purpose behind the brand and the social media. Anything else that comes from it is extra. As long as we create a brand that shows people that we're serious and we're creating a fun, inclusive working environment, that's what it's all about. That's why we have the social media. But I can start going through some of the other values that have come from it. I've realized that so many kids are very inspired by what I've posted and showing our journey. So it's made so many people reach out to us asking, how do I start a junk removal business? How do we do this? Can I join your team? And we've got a lot of employees from our Instagram, but also a lot of people wanting to start their own businesses. And that's why I created the school community originally. And then I realized like people aren't really benefiting as much from the school community. So now I'm working with my friend Ben. He owns a junk removal business in Pennsylvania, but me and him, like, we work to coach people, basically like mentorship. And that's what like it's in the Instagram bio for my personal brand. And then I'm gonna put it in the Junk Teens bio soon. But like, yeah, basically it went from like the community to realizing people weren't taking it serious enough to now doing coaching, which is more high ticket, but like people take it serious. And we've had many kids come through the program and it's like changed their life. So that's kind of the direct value that might come from the social media is like people will pay me for my time to like consult with them basically. But aside from that, the main goal of the social media, I don't even care about the coaching as long as the Junk Teens brand benefits from it. That's the most important. It's like as long as more people want to come into work, the guys that are on our team feel like they're a part of something bigger than just a junk removal company. Like that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's the brand and the fun.
For sure. I've watched some of your vlogs and you talk. Well, it's not really you talk, but I've seen you host events at your office. Do you do that because it like you truly are building a community? And I guess second, like as a conclusion from that, you're having so much fun. You're working with amazing people. Like you said, if you're with someone negative, they're out the door in 2 seconds. How important is money in what you're doing? Obviously, you want to achieve things, but if you're having so much fun, is it the end goal? Curious about that.
Yeah, we're broke, to be honest. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyways, I mean like money is the foundation. It's what keeps the ball rolling. It's what keeps everything in motion and allows us to do what we do. So if we're not making money, none of this even exists. So that's how I like to see it. Um, but it's also not like the only thing because at the end of the day, like when you only focus on the money and it's the only thing, even though it's our priority, it's not the only thing. When it is the only thing, it gets a little bit depressing. Like you need a spirit behind it. You need a purpose. And then that's what honestly makes you more money at the end of the day. Because people will get burnt out too quick if everything's always about the money. Like people become less people when that's what it is. And I think we want each other to thrive and we want our lives to thrive too. And that's why we kind of try to keep it well-rounded. And that's the goal for us.
So on money, when the business makes money, do you take it out? Do you put it all back into the business? Do you invest your money on the side? Curious.
Yeah, like I would say like for me, the last 3 years, most of it has gone back into the business. And yes, I have taken some out. When I was 19, I bought my dream car, the Hellcat. My brother just bought one this summer, so now we have matching cars too. But I would say like it's mostly like yes, the number is big, 1.2. That's not what I take home. Like I have people's like wages to pay, dump fees, insurance. Like our insurance alone is probably like 60 grand a year. Then more than that, maybe now. We had some injuries this year, so like maybe it's going to be like 80K next year. You know, it goes up over time. And then we have our rent, which is probably another like 6 grand a month right now, um, at least. And we're opening a rage room soon. That's a whole different business though, but that's another 3 grand a month for rent. Um, like there's a lot of expenses behind this stuff. Like if people are looking to make more profit, the online space, the software space is where like there's more profit behind things, but there's a lot of people and moving parts involved. So like yes, the number's big, but the profits aren't always like as big as what those numbers seem. So I take a decent amount home myself, but like if I worked a job, I could probably make what I do now, but in 5 years from now, I I think I'll be making more than anyone working a job. So it's all about the risk and the sacrifices, um, and it's seeing a long-term vision, and that's how I see my money. Is I try to see everything long-term, like Warren Buffett. And then in terms of investing, I think investing in myself is the best investment at this stage in my life because I can control that. I can control that while at the same time I'm building a solid foundation in my stock portfolio. I take about like 30K a year, put it in my SEP IRA, which is like people have a Roth IRA. When you own a business, you have a SEP IRA. It's like a similar type of thing, but not tax free, you know. So it's like a write off, but that's what I do. And then I have my personal stocks. I think actually I called my mom yesterday and I told her like I was like, "Mom, you guys need to invest in Meta because I think Meta is gonna like 20x in the next 5 to 10 years. Mark my word." Just that's what I think. But you know, individual stocks I'm not too heavy on. It's mostly like the funds. But and after college, I really want to invest in real estate because I want to own my own house like right out of college when I have the time and dedication to like fix any problems that are associated with that. But like I think real estate investing is going to be one of the things that builds like generational wealth um that I'm going to do in my lifetime for the generations to come. And it's something I understand. Like I want to be able to walk in the door of my investment, not invest in someone else's company. I want to invest in my own company that I have control over and then walk in the door of my investment through real estate. That's the kind of investing that I personally like. But I'm still also playing my cards right, spreading everything across the board. So like if not all my eggs are in one basket, but my priority is investing in myself.
I really like what you said about investing in yourself. And I think that, there are a lot of people on YouTube will tell you, okay, you need to plow your money in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 because in 30 years time, you put away X amount of money, you'll have $4 million, $5 million. But the thing I've always like, I've never understood was, $4 million 30 years from now is not $4 million now. It's with inflation, it's much, much lower. I like what you said there. I am curious. You've made a lot of money. You're making a lot of money, yet you're still in college. Part of me wonders why. Like, do you see have you learned a lot from your degree? Like, what's the reason for you going to college if you can already make so much money?
That's a really good question that people like haven't really asked me on an interview before. So it's definitely one that I've all the other stuff I've answered, but this one's kind of I like talking about this because my opinion's always changing. At first, for the first 2 years, I wanted to drop out every second I was in school. But this last year, I started to change my opinion just a little bit as time went on. And then now I'm at the point where like I want to graduate. Like I'm actually excited and thankful to have the opportunity to be at Babson College, where before it was more like, I'm just doing this out of respect for my parents. But that's what kept me in it the most was like my parents, it's their only wish from me. And like they don't care if I work a job, if I have no money, if I have all the money in the world, they don't care. They just want me to be happy and have my college degree. That's like what's important to them. So like I trust my parents a lot. I've always trusted them and I trust what they want for me. even though I don't understand it at all. But now I began to understand it. Like the thing that I like about college and specifically Babson is that it gives me an opportunity to meet people and build relationships in a less transactional way. Because outside in the real world, dealing with business and everything I do, like I feel like a lot of friendships and people um are interest driven, and that's okay because that's kind of how the world works. But it's also nice that to know people in like the most random way that like you guys don't really have anything in common besides the school you go to, and then there's great people everywhere in the world, but like meeting great people through college is it's kind of a special opportunity to make lifelong friends. And specifically Babson, I love how global the whole school is, how international, because I'm able to make friends around the world. And my dreams, even though they're kind of forward tunnel visioned in a specific way right now, specifically in this country, in 10 years from now, my dreams are going to be as big as the world. And it's really good to know these people from Babson now because in, I think in 10 years from now, when I'm there, it's going to be a lot more valuable to know people in these different countries. And also the next year, I'm going to really focus on building a lot of these more global connections with people and exploring the different cultures because it's a great opportunity to have all in one place. It's a really special opportunity. And I think like having a little bit of balance in my life too, being at school while managing the business, if anything, like it's gonna make it bigger in the long term because like I'm sure like if I stuck with the junk teens only, I would think in my life that like the junk removal business is what's gonna make me a billionaire. But seeing other people have absent other families, how other people have made money, not in the blue collar niche, the industry, it's opened my eyes to what different people do to make their wealth and seeing it firsthand and seeing how different people, different types of business owners operate all in one place. Like it just it kind of it opens my eyes and my dreams to be much bigger than they would be tunnel visioned without college. It's and also specifically Babson, like I would not be at any other school. I'm also paying for some of my college too. It's really hard for me to understand the investment in the beginning. Now I do. It's all about the people. But like to be honest, like there's also a lot of people at Babson, most people I just don't really think are going anywhere. And I feel like I hate surrounding myself by people that don't share the same goals, visions, and drive as me. And there's so many of those people at Babson that I'm forced to be around, and that's like the only thing I hate about it. Like I like control my life to push it to where I want to go. And when there's constantly people around me that aren't the people I want to be around, and I have to because of college, that's one of the only things in my life that drags me down. Aside from that, I just do my best to shape Babson to be what I want it to be. And I know I'm gonna be done in a year and a half, and that's it. That's kind of how I see college.
What you said about meeting like wealthy people from wealthy families around the world in college is absolutely true. Like I study in London and I have a friend from a good friend from Dubai. I've met people from Russia, and you hear the stories of your wealth and it's sometimes unreal. It's like, whoa, like your dad does that. Like I am curious at Babson because you clearly think a lot about business, and I'm sure you're fascinated by the backgrounds these people come from. What's the most interesting story of wealth from a person you've met at college?
I'm sure a lot of people probably want their stories to be private, but I can share some that I know like might be kind of interesting. Um, there's this one girl that dropped out, but like her grandfather invented shampoo. It's kind of interesting, but like the most random shit ever. I'm trying to think. Like I know a lot of friends that really like would want their stuff to be private, so I'm trying to think. Uh,
The shampoo is wild. That
Yeah,
is
like the most
absolutely
random
wild.
things. Oh, okay. I was just in Africa last week with a couple of guys, they're brothers, and they own the biggest churro company in the world. The most random stuff, like churros. They own like Churro Mania, I believe it's called. Their family does, and it's like um they just manufacture all like the most churros for like supermarkets, the world, stores, like whatever it is. So random things like this. Other people make it through real estate, finance, but there's always like these weird stories that like you never would expect. There's people who made it from the ground up. There's old money people that were born into it, but they're still hungry and build from that foundation. And like, like everyone always hates on daddy's money. And I'm very thankful to have been never given anything. My parents made me work for everything, and I'm very thankful for it. But there's still some really good and hardworking people that are smart enough to work and build from their parents' foundation and take what their parents give them to build something bigger. And that's a whole nother side of the entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't see because it's harder because the chances of someone being born into money and still being hungry is way lower than like working from the ground up because there's a lot of appreciation that really isn't there for most of these people, but like some parents can still raise their kids to be really great and give them things and a foundation at the same time. The way my parents did is different, but I'm thankful for how they have. And it's just really interesting seeing how a lot of these different types of people were raised to be who they are and their families and their goals, like from people around the world. It's always very interesting to learn more about different cultures.
One of the things I'm particularly like fascinated about is I mean this podcast is called Build to Last. It's how these businesses and these family businesses, are able to continuously make more money. And if they are, if a family is able to overcome the third generation curse where like the money isn't gone by the third generation. In my eyes, that's a miracle. Like I met one dude and he
That's my
told me
goal.
about
Honestly, like
that's
I
a
know I'm gonna I actually wrote on the wall yesterday, I will make $100 million. And it sounds crazy and delusional, but it is. You have to be delusional. And like by the time like we're 50, 100 million is gonna be the next is gonna be the new million. It it's inevitable. But I also like one of the most important things to me in life is actually family. And if I had to drop all the money, everything I ever made for family, I would. Because I don't I one of my biggest goals in life is to build a happy, healthy family and raise my kids to be to take on the power and responsibility that I've built in whatever way they want to. It doesn't mean taking over whatever I've built, but like kind of taking the resources and the drive and the knowledge and wisdom is the most important, that they take that and build something or do something better than I have in my lifetime. Whether it's building a bigger family, um, building bigger dreams. I don't know, whatever they would want to ever do, but I want to build a happy, healthy family, and that's one of the most important goals of my life. But time comes and things happen. You can't really force that part of life.
no, I'm absolutely with you. I have six siblings. I come from a big family, and I do want to accomplish great things. But if you ask me, would I drop all the money for my family, for my future family? I absolutely would, and so I applaud you there. I'm curious. You're clearly an extremely driven person. You care a lot about family. I I love your values. Why do you think that's the case? Like, did your parents always raise you with that in mind? Are you religious? Just curious.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that go into that. Definitely how my parents have raised me. Um, I I think maybe some of it is just the chemicals in my brain. It's like some people say like, is it nature or nurture? I think it's mostly nurture, but nature is a small factor in how people like grow and develop too. Um, I I have I think like my parents have never given me anything. They've never spoiled me, and they've always wanted to teach me like what works and what doesn't. And I think just from observing how they operate, I've learned from that too. Um, but another big thing for me is religion, and I'm Catholic. I'm a strong believer in God, and I have a strong faith. And I think religion is a great foundation of morals. I think it's a great foundation to lead a family on too. And I think it's like a crucial part of what keeps my family together too. Because like I think a lot of the times like not religious families can have a harder time finding a direction together in terms of morals and how they develop and the path that they choose. So that's definitely part of what like kind of shapes my vision too, to be as like the genuine person I am. A lot of it comes from how I was raised, but also religion, and religion's part of how I was raised too. So a lot of like I give my parents so much credit because I really love them and I respect even sometimes when it doesn't make sense what they're doing. It's like, Mom, just let me live my life. Just let me do things this way. Like I have to be myself, and if I always listen to everything you do, I'm never going to be myself. And it's kind of like balancing the trust that I have for their vision, but also making sure I have my own path and that I'm not only doing what they say. So it's a lot of different things that go together. Plus, the people I surround myself by shape me a lot. It's not just my parents, but honestly, my friends have raised me in a way too. I think the last 2, 3 years of my life have been some of the most defining years of my whole life. And it's because of the people who have been in my life, people I've met from Babson that have diverse backgrounds and experiences, and just being around these types of people that I share commonalities with, but have such different and diverse thoughts and ways of being raised. Like I aspire and I look up to a lot of my friends, and that's how I always want it to be. I want a lot of my friends to be better at me in certain ways, whether it's life, business, talent, I don't know, but like I just like it when I'm surrounded by people who are better than me at different things, and that's one of the things that's helped me become a better version of myself and start to think the way I do more and more. I always want to be better, and that's what I strive to surround myself by.
Awesome. I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much, Kirk. I learned a lot and I truly resonate. I'm also a Catholic. And for me, like my faith has been super important in everything I do. And even in studying, studying well, because your work is at the end of the day, that's your purpose. And so, I mean, you're working super hard and I think as human beings, that is at the end of the day our purpose. So thanks so much, Kirk. I'll leave it there. Take care, man.